This is the latest mean machine from Audi. The RS3 Sportback, 250 kilowatts, that's 340 horsepower, and more powerful than former top performer, the S3, by 55 kilowatts. It has a sporty feel inside and out. Rahel Frey, a racing driver from the German Touring Car Master Series, takes the RS3 Sportback out for a spin. The Swiss ace tells us that she wants to see just how powerful the RS3 Sportback really is. We let the two of them loose on the open road. The 25-year-old got into motorsports 13 years ago. She started off in go-karts. She joined the German Touring Car Masters, the DTM, earlier this year. Audi has been involved in racing for many years. The RS models bring racing to the roads. The car goes from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.6 seconds. The upper speed limit is electronically regulated at 250 kilometers per hour. The 2.5-liter 5-cylinder turbo-drive engine with direct fuel injection has a staggering 450 newton-meters of torque. What Rahel finds special about the RS3 Sportback is the fact that up front, the wheels are a full 10 centimeters broader. She says this makes it more fun to drive and also improves stability. The 7-gear S-tronic twin-clutch transmission lets you shift gears at the flick of a switch. Permanent all-wheel drive with a hydraulic multiple-disc clutch keeps the car firmly on the road. Rahel Frey explains another feature of the RS3, the special sport button. This gives the car a completely different feel by adjusting the throttle valves. It translates into a very responsive accelerator pedal, which is a lot of fun going around bends.
Und das macht natürlich im Kurvenfahren speziell Spaß.
Electronic safety programs are on hand to make sure the car stays where it should be. But if you want, you can turn off these features and do everything yourself. Rahel Frey says she wouldn't recommend to anyone that they turn off the ESP. The car loses stability, and you have to control it yourself. She explains that Audi doesn't want to dictate to its customers. They have the opportunity of turning off the ESP, so the assistance aids really only assist. But we've got a professional to test what the Audi can do. So we asked Rahel Frey to turn off the ESP. But she's not on a racetrack, so she makes sure that she doesn't go too wild. Rahel points out that as a racing driver, she likes the challenge of driving the car, but she rarely turns off the ESP, especially on a stretch of road with bends, because she needs to have 100% concentration all the time. Rahel says she needs to be able to respond instantly if the tail spins out, for instance. The power steering varies depending on the speed of the car. Rahel loves the responsiveness of the RS3's power steering. It's hard, but she likes that after she's been on the track. But her favorite thing about the RS3 is the sound of the engine. The special sound comes from the 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine, Rahel explains. She also likes the way the car responds, making it a safe drive, especially if you have to overtake. For her, it is simply a joy to drive. The Audi RS3, a sporty racing car with an extremely powerful engine. Prices start at 49,900 euros here in Germany. Electric bicycles are popular in Germany, with double-digit growth in recent years. One of the reasons is that they are getting faster. But insurance companies warn of the accompanying rise in risks. Some electric bicycles reach speeds of 45 kilometers an hour. Insurance companies are conducting crash tests of electric bicycles to see the damage that is caused. First off is a standard overtaking maneuver. A normal bicycle is hit by a much faster electric bike. Both riders set off. The electric bike rider hits the shoulder of the normal bike rider, and both crash to the ground. In real life, both cyclists would have suffered severe injuries. Siegfried Brockmann from German insurers Accident Research says, you see just how serious a collision like this is, even though they only barely touched each other. This is what will happen if more electric bikes are on the roads, he warns. The normal bike rider is traveling at around 20 kilometers an hour, the electric bike rider at 45 kilometers an hour. Siegfried says it's bound to happen more in the future. The next crash test is a typical car-bike accident. The electric bike rider hits a car traveling at 40 kilometers an hour. The rider smashes into the car with their upper body, and then the head slams against the windscreen. The bike is destroyed. In real life, this accident would probably have been fatal. What was simulated here, Siegfried Brockmann explains, is when an electric bike crashes into a car as it is turning, and the rider does not have the time to brake. These types of accidents happen a lot. A car coming from the other side, turning or driving out of a driveway or a garage.
Ein aus der Grundstücks- oder Garageneinfahrt herausfahrender Pkw, und genau das sehen wir hier.
In our test, the bike rider wasn't wearing a helmet. Would a helmet have helped? Siegfried Brockmann says that a helmet protects riders in a crash. It becomes even more important the faster you are going. But he says you have to realize that if you crash on your head traveling at 45 kilometers an hour, then a bicycle helmet won't offer much protection. We try out that scenario. The crash test dummy wears a helmet. A helmet wouldn't have helped in this situation, insists Siegfried Brockmann. The worst injuries are in the chest area, and the rider hit the car with his face, not the head. We try out another test. This time the bike rider hits a pedestrian. The pedestrian gets hit at high speed. Electric bicycles don't make a lot of noise, so many people are caught unawares. The worst injuries are to the head, ribs, and legs. The problem for pedestrians, Siegfried Brockmann points out, is that they could get hit from the side or the back without seeing the cyclist. That means that people cannot react. You have to be lucky and not get hit in the wrong place. Electric bicycles are gaining in popularity right now, especially with summer approaching. People will have to start getting used to them. Pedestrians, motorists, and regular cyclists. And those on them will have to ride all the more responsibly. The Volkswagen Golf convertible is back. More than 680,000 Golf convertibles have been sold since the launch in 1979. The soft top of the latest edition opens in just 9 seconds and can even be opened while driving at speeds of up to 30 kilometers an hour. And instead of roll bars, there's special rollover protection that is released at a split second when needed. Mercedes has presented the station wagon version of its new C-Class cars. The new and improved automatic gearbox 7G Tronic Plus and lighter parts made of aluminum mean a reduction in emissions. The new station wagon model also has 10 new driver assists. There are many different types of tea, says our car tester Mathis Kurat. Some people prefer Earl Grey, others like Ceylon Assam. They look similar, but taste different. But if you mix them together, then you get a different, new, interesting taste. This is what sometimes happens to cars. The iconic British Jaguar company was bought by India's Tata in 2008. The new owner has continued to build impressive-looking cars, like the XF. It was developed while Jaguar still belonged to Ford. Mathis describes it as the Earl Grey of modern Jaguars, and we take it out for a drive. Mathis Kurat says the interior is exactly what you would expect from a Jaguar, very high class. Here you have a little storage compartment, but what you won't find is a gearshift lever. That only appears after you start the engine. The same applies to the air vents.
Kleine Drehknopf hier hoch und auch die Lüftung schaltet sich ein und das sieht man daran, dass plötzlich Lüftungsschlitze da sind.
But before he sets off, Mathis has to pack the table and chair. It may not look like it, but the trunk has a capacity of 540 liters. When the seats are put down, that increases to 963 liters. Mathis says the trunk is big enough to put in a full set of golf clubs. And now it's time to take the beast onto the road. The 177 kilowatt 3-liter diesel engine takes the XF from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 7.1 seconds. It also comes in a more and a less powerful version. Mathis likes the chassis of the XF. He says that even very bumpy stretches of road feel comfortable, and you can still drink your cup of tea.
Und man ganz in Ruhe an seinem Tee weiter trinken kann.
Of course, it's much safer to take a break to drink your tea. If safety is your thing, then for an extra 1,550 euros, you can get autonomous cruise control and an emergency brake assist feature. This helps to keep an adequate distance to the cars in front of you. There are some people that still yearn for the iconic design of the XJ with its twin headlights. But this is what the Jaguars of today look like. Sleek lines and an almost coupe-like shape. The only thing that stays the same is the Jaguar logo. And of course, there is still lots of chrome. The compact rear adds a sporty, dynamic touch. According to the manufacturer, the XF diesel, irrespective of which version you take, needs 6.8 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. We tried our best to save fuel during testing, but we're always above 10 liters. Mathis says that you don't buy a car like this just for country roads. You also want to get out on the Autobahn. Germany has 13,000 kilometers of highways, the third longest network in the world. There's no speed limit on many sections, so we can really put the pedal to the metal. You can even drink tea at high speeds on the Autobahn, according to Mattes. It's not just the pleasant sound of the engine that impresses. It also hugs the road well, even at speeds of 180 or 190 kilometers an hour. But if you want a more sports car feel, then you click on the button with the checkered flag to activate the dynamic mode, to change the chassis, steering, and all the rest. The automatic gearbox can also be changed to make it more sporty. The gears are then changed at higher revs. That's a lot of fun on windy country roads. It doesn't make the XF feel like a sports car, but it does give it a sportier feel. But a word of warning, this also uses a lot more fuel. Mattes Kurat has tested a lot of cars, but he always finds something new and exciting. In the XF, his personal favorite is the way the interior lights can be switched on and off. All in all, this is a well-designed and comfortable car to drive. Its price at 58,100 euros is also competitive. It's a joy to drive, even in typically English weather. In 1954, Bremen-based carmaker Borgward launched its most popular model, the Isabella. Especially for his wife, founder Karl Borgward had the sedan converted into a slick-looking coupe, which would in turn later become a convertible model. But the original one-off coupe was such a sensation that it went into volume production in 1957. Body specialist Karl Deutsch in Cologne was a popular choice when it came to converting sedans into convertibles, and was selected to realize Borgward's Isabella. While there are no exact figures, it's unlikely that more than 24 convertibles were ever made, based on the Isabella coupe. The stretched body of the coupe was an ideal basis for a convertible. The Isabella sedan and coupe were Borgward originals that did without prestigious design specialists from Italy, and their delightful details have lost none of their charm. On both the technical and design-related fronts, Borgward was a serious contender for the car industry's big hitters. At 4 meters 39, the coupe matched the sedan in length, while measuring 13 centimeters lower, and it was the smooth contours that were the primary beneficiaries. At the same time, there was still space for an ample trunk. The Isabella also boasted a very tasteful interior. The obligatory steering column gear shift was then more of a fashion fad than a practical necessity. Push buttons, extra instruments, and a clock were fitted as standard. This was sophistication on 4 wheels for the new post-war middle class for whom a Mercedes was still too expensive or too swanky. The large doors ensure easy access, and the seat position behind the white steering wheel is comfortable. The heating can be adjusted separately for the driver and front passenger. The Isabella coupes had the same engine, the 75 horsepower 1500cc unit adopted from the popular TS model. Top speed was 150 kilometers an hour. It was a pretty zippy model for those days. Some convertibles look oddly proportioned with the roof up, but here too the Isabella cuts a very fine figure. Schreiber, a Borgward specialist firm in Bavaria, made a replica of the Karl Deutsch body, accurate right down to the last detail. The form and fit of the roof are certainly a match for the original, and even better in terms of quality, although Deutsch was a low-price supplier. Being able to build a roof like this in the first place required extensive reinforcements to the floor section. The only departure Schreiber made from Deutsch was rust protection. The originals were not built to last forever, a fate shared by many convertibles back then. The lined roof is also a comfy affair when the weather's on the unfriendly side, and anything but a makeshift solution. It would be winterproof as such, although precious few drivers today would take their chances. Not the genuine article, but just like the original, the conversion of an Isabella coupe into a Deutsch convertible. In the 1950s, wealthier drivers already had the option of having their car converted. Borgward models were in themselves upscale cars. Today, the Borgward brand is the stuff of legends. It might not mean anything to most people, but anyone who ever saw an elegant Isabella gliding past them on the road will always treasure the memory.
See